The Key to Yourself by Dr. Venice Bloodworth. Read to you by Blue L. Chapter 14. Health, Youth, and Beauty. The human body is composed of millions of cells. These cells possess an intelligence sufficient for them to perform their individual duty in the physical anatomy. They do everything the body does: eat, drink, move, reproduce their kind, select their food, repair their waste. They also heal wounds, knit together broken bones, repel and destroy germs, etc. Dr. Thomas J. Hudson says, "No intelligent physician of any school claims to do more than assist nature to restore the normal conditions of the body. That is a mental energy that is thus assisted, no one denies, for science teaches us that the whole body is made up of a confederation of intelligent entities, each of which performs its functions with an intelligence exactly adapted to the performance of its special duties." It is a mental energy that actuates every fiber of the body. Health, like any other condition, is a matter of consciousness and is absolutely a matter of choice. Mind controls every function of the body. Take away your mind, and your body is as lifeless and senseless as your front gate post. The central intelligence that controls each and every one of these mind organisms is the subconscious mind, and as the subconscious mind accepts all suggestions and beliefs of the conscious mind as a pattern to work by, we find that our health is the product of the conscious mind. Your body has no more say-so as to its condition than clay in the potter's hand. Just as the potter forms the clay after his own ideas, just so does your body conform to your ideas and beliefs. Your heart, your lungs, your digestive organs merely carry out the commands of your mind. The body, with all its intricate organs, is the incarnation of ideas, and the present condition of every organ in your body is the result of an idea. Science has found that our bodies are constantly changing, that every 11 months we have formed an entirely new body, so far as constituent elements are concerned. Then why is it that diseased organs are constantly rebuilt in their abnormal condition when new, fresh elements are furnished them from the great storehouse of nature? It is the idea back of the organ that decides its form, and a false idea will take the pure essence of being and build sickness and disease. Let us consider the control of the conscious mind in its temporary uses. You laugh when something amusing enters your mind. You cry when something sad enters your mind. You grow pale with anger or fear. You blush with embarrassment. But always it is a thought which brings the different reactions to the body, and we realize the body is simply an instrument which the mind uses to express its emotions. It is by the same process that we impress our subconscious mind, for whatever the conscious mind accepts as true, the subconscious mind accepts as a pattern to mold our bodies by. And if you will hold before your subconscious mind the thought that weakness, disease, deformity, lameness are merely a mistake and are not real within themselves, but that the image and likeness of God within you is perfection and the truth concerning your body, you will soon be free of every ill. You are using your creative power of thought every minute. The problem is to use it consciously and correctly, thus creating only desirable results. Cheerful, happy, constructive, loving, kindly thoughts set in motion vibrations which bring us good results. Thoughts of worry, envy, hatred, criticism, and other thoughts of discord set in motion vibrations that bring bad results. Every cell in your body is intelligent and will respond to your direction and will create the exact pattern you give it. Therefore, if you place a perfect ideal before the subconscious mind, its creative energies will build a perfect body. So if you wish to manifest health, your predominant mental attitude must be one of health, strength, and vigor. All the elements of nature are pure. All the forces of existence are harmonious. But man, the supreme ruler in the realm of effect, may take the perfections of being and through his thinking processes build a world of sickness and distress. We have educated our faculties to believe inharmonious conditions real until it has become a fixed belief in the race mind that sickness, poverty, and discord are necessary. Some people believe that trials are a punishment for what we call our sins. It is true that we find many appearances of evil, but these conditions were brought about through ignorance and a belief in evil as a principle acting in opposition to good. We have not stopped to reason about this because we are so used to accepting the evidence of our senses without question. If God is all power, all wisdom, and everywhere present, then where can evil be? From the viewpoint of principle, evil is not anywhere, for if God is all power, there could not be another real power warring against him. If that were so, he could not be all power. If he is everywhere present, and everyone believes that God is good and God is all, then where can evil be? When we stop to analyze certain things, we find ourselves obliged to give up the race thought that evil has any real power. When we let go the idea that error of any kind has power, we are forging toward the truth that makes men free. There is nothing to compare with the sense of freedom and joy that comes to those who realize that God is good, that good is the only reality, that good is omnipresent, and that we may draw on this limitless supply without stint or cost. We may build strength, health, youth, and joy back into the temple of the living God that we call our body. Open your mind to the inflow of good. When you realize the fact that there is no such thing as lack, want, or disease in the universal mind, you will see and hear and walk and laugh as you have never done before. This is an individual work. Each one of us must find the Holy Grail for himself. 10 years ago, I had a nervous collapse, and upon examination, it was found I was suffering from tuberculosis. The doctor put me to bed for rest and prescribed a building-up diet. 2 months later, I was a well woman, filled with vibrant health and vitality, and have never been sick a day since. I did not take any medicine. My restoration was accomplished absolutely by the power of thought. I admit frankly that for some time I did not get any visible results, and there were times when I was ready to give up. This state of mind existed before I had established any basis or consciousness. Then one day, like a flash, understanding came to me. Only what I think can come to me. I had studied and concentrated on the creative power of thought and knew it intellectually, but not until my emotional center was brought into play did I make any progress. When my subconscious mind grasped the import of my thoughts, it then set about to help me. It was not all plain sailing then, but I was fortified with the wisdom to understand why certain things happened. With understanding came the courage to go right along. I saw the light ahead, and I knew I would reach it, because my arrival depended absolutely on myself. The glory of that moment will never leave me. My future depended on the use I made of my own indwelling power. I was the master of my fate, the captain of my soul. There was no real evil to beset me, and God was a just, loving Father who had placed at my disposal His boundless, limitless good, and all I had to do was to set aside all limitations, decide what I wanted, and think it into being. I found that we must build our consciousness or faith step by step. When we make certain impressions on our subconscious mind and live for years by those impressions, we cannot expect to destroy them in just a few days. We must patiently substitute constructive, loving, harmonious thoughts for destructive, critical ones. The more you realize your freedom, the happier you become. Faith, joy, health, contentment, you just bubble over with these wonderful attributes, and they attract the best people and environment. I do not claim that it is easy to change our habits of thought and action, and it is harder still to disregard race thought and the evidence of the five senses, but I say emphatically that it can be done by anyone who will systematically and patiently keep on. It takes courage, determination, patience, loving kindness, and careful attention as to thought and motive. It is worth every effort, for the reward is so great. Science has slowly but surely proven false all our ideas and beliefs about old age, the 70 length of life, the necessity of growing old and feeble. We grow old or sick or feeble for no other reason than that we believe in old age and sickness. Everything is first an idea, and the idea of old age and sickness came about because man, through ignorance, trespassed the laws of his being and had to suffer the consequence of his action. Thus we find a deeply grounded belief in poverty, disease, and old age, because we have had these errors given us as true all our lives. Our present conditions are the results of our demands on the universal life principle. If you have traded with life for a penny, life will pay no more until you learn that the universal substance is without limit and subject to your demand. Many years ago, Dr. Carroll of the Rockefeller Institute took the tissue from the heart of an embryo chicken and placed it in a culture medium. It is living and growing yet, thus demonstrating the fact that life cells will live and grow indefinitely when properly protected and nourished. Science has learned how to keep the life cells alive and grow new tissue. The problem now is how to automatically eliminate old tissue. When science learns this, our lives may be prolonged indefinitely. But the secret that science is laboriously wresting from nature, man has always had the power to do for himself. Ever since Ponce de Leon made himself famous by seeking the fountain of youth, we have heard more or less humorous references to this supposed mythical condition. Yet, the only mistake Ponce de Leon made was in looking anywhere outside himself for youth. Age is a matter of condition and not years. It does not matter how many years you have lived, you are only 11 months old. Your body is constantly being renewed. Every organ, every cell, every minutest part of your body, from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet, is made over every 11 months. Your body cells are always building, always tearing down old tissue and building it new. Why, then, should you grow old, look old, or feel old? There is no reason, except that you believed it necessary to grow old, because there is no principle of decay or death. God is the God of the living and not of the dead. It is said that if you say anything long enough and often enough, folks will believe it. I may be accused of repetition in this key to yourself, but I want my readers to learn the truth, and I have told it in every chapter of this book. There is no limit to your capacity of achievement. You can be what you want to be. You can do what you want to do by the creative power of your own thought. You are just as old as your thoughts. Every activity of your body is controlled by your mind. The saddest thing on earth is to hear men and women say, "I can't go the pace I used to go. I'm getting along in years." Or, "We are growing old now and must look ahead for old age." You can be old at 35. You can be young at 75. It's a matter of choice. Your mind will make you young or old according as you think, youth or age. The universal mind is life, health, youth, beauty, happiness, abundance in abstract perfection. Your subconscious mind is one with the universal mind, and you can draw on this unlimited supply for any and everything. Whatever you have believed to be true in your individual mold from which your physical condition and environment have come. Now, if your physical appearance does not suit you, start right now to renewing your youth. Visualize a mental picture of physical perfection. Picture every feature of your face as being perfect. To do this successfully, form an image of yourself standing beside you. If you cannot focus an image of yourself satisfactorily, select a picture or statuette that meets with your approval, one that gives you real pleasure to look at, and use it as your model. Keep it in your room. Think of it as being you. Say to yourself, "I am growing to this ideal." Never think of yourself as anything else. Learn to disregard appearance. Hold your ideal in mind as yourself, and your subconscious mind will accept it as a pattern to build you by, until one day you will find that it is you. Everything is the result of thought. Before anything material can exist, it must be in the mind of the person creating it. Always there must be a pattern or model made of what is desired to form. Heretofore, we have made our bodies unconsciously by hereditary pattern and our own subconscious impressions. When we do this building consciously, we work by the same law, and our results are just as certain. It has been noticed that two people living together have become like each other in mind and body. The keynote of Greek civilization was the love of beauty. The Greek mothers, we are told, were surrounded by models of beauty and were carefully guarded from every unpleasant sight. A bird surrounded by a certain color and seeing only that color will change its feathers to match its surroundings. Animals and birds going to a cold country where snow predominates assume white fur and plumage. The fact that every living creature, even the tiniest forms of life, has recourse to the universal mind was proven by experiments at the Rockefeller Institute as follows. A rose bush infested with tiny insects was placed in a window and allowed to die. When the bush was dead, the insects, which were wingless, grew wings and flew off the bush, seeking subsistence elsewhere. These insects knew they would starve after the rose bush was dead unless they acquired the means for rapid motion and grew wings to save their lives. Now, if the lower creatures can use the universal life principle with no will except the instinctive demand for preservation of life, man, with his will guided by the intelligence and knowledge of his conscious mind, can do infinitely more, considering that the same law is brought into play. The same life principle works through both man and animal, with this difference, that whereas the lower creature works by an unconscious instinctive desire, man has no restriction and can manifest anything he has the faith and knowledge to ask for. Always remember, however, that our desires must become subconscious before they can come into expression, for we must always be before we can do. The supply is always equal to the demand, but the demand must be made according to law, and the law works only by subconscious demand. The Key to Yourself by Dr. Venice Bloodworth. Read to you by Blue L. Chapter 15. Subconscious Impressions. To illustrate the fact that we must be before we can do, and also the fact that we do exactly what we are, I shall take the actual experience of one of my friends. He is the typical businessman who started out with a high school education and good natural ability, plus a most charming personality. We were discussing the phenomenal success of a mutual friend when he said, "I would certainly like to know his system, for I happen to know that he has no more brains or initiative than I have, and from all appearance I have worked longer and harder, yet everything he touches is successful, and I am almost ready to admit that I'm a failure." Just for an instant, the courteous social mask fell, and I saw something akin to despair in his eyes, and sensed the panic of those who fight an unseen enemy. He recovered himself quickly and tried to change the subject, but I insisted on hearing more and asked what the trouble was. "I don't know," he replied. "I have ideas and work them out, but they fail or bring profit to someone else. I would be tiresome to go into the detail, but it doesn't matter what I do or what kind of good start I make, I find myself right back at the beginning. I'm 45 years old, have no established business or position, and I believe I'm getting a bit nervous about the future." "You are using what might be termed the law of reversed effort," I said, "same being the busy sidekick of the failure complex. You are reaping the results of bad subconscious impressions. Let us find out where they came from, drag them out, and get rid of them." After a good deal of discussion about his affairs, I learned that his first business venture had been a failure, entailing the loss of his patrimony. He had made a new start, but subconsciously he distrusted himself, perhaps because his first business was a failure, and he had systematically failed, because subconsciously he was a failure. Every time he failed to succeed, the impression of failure grew stronger, and we find the law working not in accord with his conscious efforts, but bearing the fruit of his predominant characteristic. He had not understood what the trouble was, and had not made any conscious effort to overcome the bad subconscious impression. His health had suffered, and he was rather pessimistic. He studied psychology with me, and soon grasped the principle of success, though it was nearly 2 years before he reaped real returns on his efforts. However, he is now restored in health and is a recognized figure in business. Another instance of the strange workings of subconscious impressions was brought to my attention by a dentist who asked me if I could figure why fate had selected him as the man whose patients all went to Florida. "I know it sounds absurd," he said, "but practically all my patrons have gone, and I'm not doing enough business to pay off his rent." "Well," I replied, "it looks to me very much like you really did not want your patients." He looked his astonishment at such a finding on my part, but when I talked to him a while, I learned that while he gave satisfaction as a dentist, his heart was not in his work. His father had been a dentist, and had educated his son to succeed him. The chap in question is a mechanical genius and hates dentistry. He had subconsciously desired to be rid of his work, and events had shaped themselves in accord with his instinctive demand. Thus we find that regardless of appearance, conditions are what we subconsciously demand, and the demand is based on what we inherently are. Whether the basis be an impression acquired through our everyday experience or is hereditary, we must be subconsciously anything we want to do. This brings us again to the mighty power of the conscious mind, because the subconscious receives its impressions from the conscious mind, and we may change any subconscious impression by systematic, determined effort. Therefore, it is absolutely necessary to control our thoughts and to keep out of our minds anything that we would object to seeing brought forth in the material world. Jesus Christ gave us the truth when he said, "My words are spirit and life. They shall not return unto me void, but shall accomplish that which they were sent out to do." We know that words are thought forms. You cannot think without clothing your thoughts in words. Your thoughts are a spiritual activity, and spirit is life. When you learn the truth that makes men free, you will understand that your thoughts will not return to you void, but will accomplish what they were sent out to do, be it good or evil, constructive or destructive. The Key to Yourself by Dr. Venice Bloodworth. Read to you by Blue L. Chapter 16. Desire. The mystic road to success is through the land of desire. After we reach the age of reason and independent action, we do what we want to do. You may be inclined to argue with me about this and say that circumstances are too strong for you, or that duty keeps you from taking a chance at gaining your desire, but any such argument simply shows a lack of understanding on your part, for the right sort of desire will break down anything that stands in the way of its fulfillment. You cannot keep a man in prison who desires hard enough to be free, and nothing can keep your own from you when you understand who and what you really are. The universal mind is omnipotent and omnipresent. It surrounds you like the sunshine and air. Your subconscious mind is a part of the universal mind, and through your subconscious self, you have access to the mighty wisdom and power of the universal mind. When you realize this fact, there is no limit to your achievement, for the mind does its building solely by the power of thought. Its creations takes form in exact accord with your mental image, and desire builds the mental image for you. This is the secret of the power of prayer. God is not a being to be flattered or bought by promises into granting your desires. If that were true, every man would receive his wish, for there is no one living who has not prayed for something. When you pray earnestly, you form a mental image of what you want, and if your faith is strong enough, you hold your desire in your thoughts. Then the universal mind works with you and for you, thus bringing your desire into manifestation. If you are lacking in material wealth or lacking in health, it is because you do not believe or you do not understand your own power. It is not a question of God giving you your heart's desire. Everything is omnipresent for everybody. You have only to realize your own power and use it. You may say that you have had 1,000 desires. You want to be rich and happy and healthy, but you doubt, like the man who said that while he did not believe all this psychology bunk, he'd give it a try. I suppose it is not necessary for me to assure you that he got just what he believed, nothing. We have so many mild desires, and we do not really believe we can attain any one of them, and we are so used to lightly wishing for things that we do not know what we want. The magic secret of attainment is one intensive desire. Fix one goal at a time. Concentrate on just one desire. If you wanted to climb a mountain, you would not start up one path and every little while come down and select a new trail. If you did, you'd never reach the top. It is the same way with your desires. You have got to concentrate on one idea at a time. Hold in mind the thing you desire most. Declare it to be an existing fact. Understand that it is yours. For the very moment you desire anything, it is given you, but you must hold it steady and want it with all your heart so that the law of growth can take effect. If you planted seed in your garden and dug them up every little while to see if they were sprouted, or threw them away to plant other seed, nothing would ever grow for you. And as the same law governs growth of any description, you can readily see that you must plant your thought seed and tend them with confident desire and expectation, all of which means that you must realize that you have received even before it comes into tangible expression. If you can truly believe that you have received something, your subconscious mind will surely see that you get it. Everyone who has reaped success has started out to accomplish just one thing. Find out what you want. Imagine things as you want them. Build new ideas of life. Stop believing that some people are lucky and some must be poor. Change your ideas and find that life is a beautiful adventure, that each day brings new opportunities to those who will lift their eyes above the everyday grind. Life means something more than animal existence. Get out of the rut, for rut is only another name for grave. Did not the Master say, "Let the dead bury the dead. Come thou and follow me"? If you believe in poverty, misery, and distress, you're as good as dead already. Everything is done according to law. Therefore, if a prayer ever has been answered, yours can be. If anybody has ever been successful, you can be. Life is not carried on by any hit or miss plan. For every effect, there is compelled to be a certain definite cause. So, get your causes lined up, and the effects will take care of themselves. You can have anything you want, if you want it badly enough to make the proper effort to get it. Do you want health? Then study and practice the lesson on health and beauty. It matters not if you are crippled or bedridden or what the trouble is. You can have rich, abounding health. Your body rebuilds itself every 11 months, and you can begin at any time to build a perfect body. Is it money you want? Then realize that the soul and the idea of money is service. Plant your desire for money in your subconscious mind and ask for ideas to increase your power to serve. The way for your individual success is waiting for you in the universal mind. Take more interest in your work and keep your mind open for new ideas. You will be guided to do the right thing at the right time. Someone has said that when we desire anything intensely, it is the thing itself trying to reach us. However that may be, the fact is that we come into understanding and right relation with our subconscious mind. Things just seem to happen for our benefit, and we are miraculously protected from all harm. It does not matter what calamity may happen, there is always protection for the individual. The Key to Yourself by Dr. Venice Bloodworth. Read to you by Blue L. Chapter 17. Habit. We are creatures of habit in mind and body. Our lives, our physical conditions, our environment show unerringly what we habitually think. Someone has said, "Sow a thought and reap an action, sow an action and reap a habit, sow a habit and reap a character, sow a character and reap a destiny." The definition of the word character is the peculiar qualities impressed by nature or habit on a person which separates the person possessing them from all others. Thus we find that each individual is simply the product of his or her own prevailing habits of thought, and by the law of attraction, their bodies and environment reflect what they inherently are. We generally think of liquor, drugs, or tobacco as injurious habits, and so they are, but aimless drifting, fear, worry, anger, jealousy are habits that often bring disaster more swiftly than the first mentioned three. You cannot always prevent unpleasant things from happening, but you can develop the habit of self-control, and what happens does not matter, but your reaction to them is what counts. The same disaster that causes one man to commit suicide will cause another to redouble his efforts and succeed. Train yourself to smile in the face of seeming defeat. The misfortunes of today are things to laugh about next year. Every destructive emotion is a wasteful emotion. They always waste your energy and make you less able to meet a situation, whatever it may be. Great anger leaves you weak and unable to put forth your best efforts for some time. while suppressed, pent-up emotions are one of the surest causes of disease, for any destructive emotion disturbs the chemistry of your body and always causes illness in some measure. If you find it impossible to prevent such emotions from getting started, take some sort of physical exercise while you force your thoughts into pleasant channels. Make yourself repeat an affirmation that will counteract the emotions you are trying to control. Do not try to crush all emotion from your life. Simply replace all destructive habits of thought and emotion with constructive ones. Encourage and develop your capacity to express love, happiness, and contentment. Take stock of any habit of thought and action that does not contribute to your happiness. Then resolve to quit that habit right now. If you fall from grace a few times, do not waste time and energy being sorry, and above all, do not get discouraged, but dig right in and break the habit. Do not keep the habit on your mind, but find something of special interest to yourself and fill your days with constructive thought and action. There can be no set rule or formula for breaking undesirable habits, but the fact is that you can erase any impression on your subconscious mind, and earnest, consistent effort is your best assurance of success. The majority of people have the poverty habit or poverty consciousness, and many other bad habits have their origin in this consciousness of lack. When a man drinks to drown his troubles, prosperity will sometime restore his self-respect, and he loses the desire for liquor. Whatever the cause for any habit, I have found that to acquire the hope of freedom from material want is to gain a new attitude toward life in general. Such a mental attitude brings a new set of bright new ideas, and we find ourselves on a new plane with everything changed, including our habits. The Key to Yourself by Dr. Venice Bloodworth, read to you by Blue L. Chapter 18. The Plenty Consciousness. The first fundamental truth that you must impress on your consciousness is the fact that this universal mind or energy in which you live, move, and have your being is the basis of all existence. This energy is limitless and inexhaustible. Therefore, you cannot be stinted for material to manifest anything you desire. Understand that God has never put any limit on you, nor on anyone else. Concentrate on this one great fact until you feel yourself expanding and glowing with joy and love for everything and everybody. Concentrate until you realize that the great desire deep in your heart is not only possible, but very probable in the near future. Let this fact of boundless plenty be the undeviating basis for all future thought and action. Be patient. Do not rush yourself. If you have believed in poverty and limit all your life, these traits of character are impressed on your subconscious mind and serve as a mold for your present condition. So please, acquire fully a consciousness of plenty by realizing that unfailing supply is the law. The Key to Yourself by Dr. Venice Bloodworth, read to you by Blue L. Chapter 19. The Law of Attraction. The law of attraction is the law of your being. It is neither good nor evil, neither moral nor immoral. It is simply a blind law that cooperates always in perfect accord with the individual demand. It is the one source of perfect justice, and by its action you reap what you have sown, and that which you measure unto others is measured back to you. There is no way to escape this law. You may use it consciously or unconsciously, but use it you must. It is the law of life and controls the universe with absolute, undeviating precision and justice. The benefit man receives by the operation of this law is represented by the forms of supply that add to his comfort, his human needs, and happiness as determined by him individually. Food, clothes, money, houses, automobiles, etc. are all symbols of this law of attraction and are all related to man through this law as cause and effect, desire and response, demand and supply. It is the operation of this law that produces such varied conditions and circumstances: riches, poverty, sickness, health, joy, sorrow. With such a conglomeration of conditions as we see manifested on every hand, you can understand how people came to believe in evil, poverty, disease, and discord as being necessary somehow to human nature. But when you realize fully that all these conditions have no power within themselves and are simply the results of individual thought, you will have found the birthright of every human being. You must first know that such a law exists, and then live in accord with it. The laws of life and nature do not punish or reward man. We simply live in or out of harmony with nature's laws, and our happiness or misery, our health or disease, prosperity or poverty, is the working out of the law as cause and effect in perfect harmony with our individual demands. This is the truth that we must understand and live by if peace, power, love, health, happiness, and success are to be part of our daily life. The only way to change your conditions in life is to change your mind about life. The road to happiness and prosperity begins in one's secret thoughts, and the motive power by which we progress along that road is constructive emotion expressed in right action. The Key to Yourself by Dr. Venice Bloodworth. Read to you by Blue L. Chapter 20. Do not judge by appearance. Let us assume that you have rid yourself of every idea of lack or limit, and have established a consciousness of truth and freedom, and are now ready to rebuild yourself physically and financially. You must now realize your relation to your fellow man, and the fact that every human being possesses the same indwelling power that you now recognize as your greatest asset. It is good to keep this fact in mind because it will help you to realize that any distressing condition is only a mistake, and that it is in your power to help erase all such conditions by holding firmly to the fact that health, wealth, and happiness are omnipresent. Such a realization on your part will keep you from being critical and impatient with the mistakes of your brother. If he does not understand his own power, he is a child moving in darkness and is entitled to your help. Hold all men in mind as being healthy, happy, and prosperous. When you do this, you are helping others and sowing good for yourself. Always send out thoughts of love and service. They will come back to you laden with their kind. When the Nazarene warned us not to judge and criticize each other, he was simply teaching us self-protection. To criticize your neighbor is to show adverse condition for yourself. That which you measure unto others shall be measured unto you. The Key to Yourself by Dr. Venice Bloodworth. Read to you by Blue L. Chapter 21. The greatest of these is love. Love your neighbor. Love yourself. When you retire at night, and when you wake up in the morning, send a thought of love to the whole world. When you can sincerely love everything and everybody, you will be astonished at the results, for love is the magnet that attracts the best of everything. Love and praise your body. Think what a wonderful machine it is, and how agreeably it responds to every demand. Your body is the mansion in which your soul and mind reside, and should be appreciated and well cared for. The Key to Yourself by Dr. Venice Bloodworth. Read to you by Blue L. Chapter 22. Keying in. You have learned to ignore appearance. Now still more important is the fact that you must guard your thoughts diligently and keep your mind on a hopeful, happy plane. Keep yourself in a successful frame of mind, because you receive subconsciously thoughts and ideas that correspond to your own state of mind. We key in on each other's thoughts like the radio and receive wireless messages continuously. Therefore, you can readily grasp the fact that if your thoughts are blue and discouraged, you will receive thoughts of poverty, disease, and stress. On the other hand, if your mind is clear, hopeful, and happy, you will receive the best thoughts from the best minds, and the ideas thus received are sometimes very valuable. The Key to Yourself by Dr. Venice Bloodworth. Read to you by Blue L. Chapter 23. Silence is golden. Another very important step towards success is to keep your affairs to yourself. Unless it is necessary to discuss your desires from a business viewpoint, do not talk of what you wish to accomplish. Concentrate on your desires, find your goal, and work towards it. But keep your own counsel. When we tell our ambitions, we waste energy and gain a certain satisfaction in hearing ourselves say what we intend to do. The man who is always telling what he is going to do never does anything. Keep silent about every important matter. Ideas that are locked up in your secret self act as a stimulating urge and intensify your thoughts and actions. If you do not talk, you must act. Silence about your affairs gives you an inward strength and power that carries you on to success. When we want to run a mill by water power, we first dam up the river. The Key to Yourself by Dr. Venice Bloodworth. Read to you by Blue L. Chapter 24. It is never too late. Regardless of age or condition, this message is written to everyone. If you are middle-aged and have lost hope of ever realizing that youthful dream, read this message until your hopes are rekindled. It is never too late. Say it over and over again. It is never too late. My dreams can come true. Say it until you feel new life running through you like an electric shock. Square your shoulders, breathe deep, and step out of your rut. If you are 50 years old, you are wise and mellowed with past experience. It will be easy for you to realize what life means. If you are 70 years old, then I say to you, step out of your rut. You are only 70 years old because you think you are. Your body is made over every 11 months, so if you are using your birthright, You ought to be in condition to start anything you want to do. Stop telling people what you used to do and think what you are going to do now. Call on the life within you. It is there. All the energy and creative power you can ever need for anything. Use it. I don't care what your present conditions may be, whether you are seemingly walled in by responsibilities that you cannot climb over nor crawl under, whether you are a bedridden cripple or a woman with a crowd of little children and never made $1 in your life. The same law that brings riches and powers to the captains of finance is the law that you have used to bring you poverty and disease. It does not matter where you are or what your condition is. You would not be there unless your subconscious mind held the pattern by which you live.